Hi, this is Etherwood and we're here in Finsbury Park. This is where the big festival is going to be in a couple of months. In September it will be a year since Blue Leaves came out, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about the tunes, some of my favourite tunes and the process behind writing and stuff.
We'll roll it till it all falls down. Never count these. Never count these. Never count these.
The first tune is Souvenirs, featuring Zara Kershaw. This tune started with the boys from Dexel. They actually sent me a little sketch which was sort of a real basic piano and this really cool drum loop, and then I kind of just ran with the tune from there. And then I was putting some ideas together and I had the basic chords, and then about the same time this guy sent me this tune to listen to, or I heard it from somewhere, and then like out of nowhere this incredible voice comes in, and it was someone I'd never heard of before, and it was Zara, and I hit her straight up and just said, I really love your voice. I checked her out on SoundCloud and she had loads of awesome covers and stuff that she'd done, and yeah, I thought she could work really well on the track. She came back with pretty much the first take was kind of worked immediately, and the track came together like that really. So the next tune is The Rain Will Fall, featuring the one and only LSB. This is funny because I actually sent Luke a huge sort of instrumental piece, and I had no idea where to take it at all. And I knew that he kind of nailed, he's amazing working with samples, and he's really good at reworking stuff and editing stuff and just sort of really changing it up. And he did exactly that. And I've been a huge fan of LSB for ages, and it was a real pleasure to work with him. And he came back like a couple of days later with a sketch, and it was basically exactly what I was hoping for. And like in his typical kind of modest fashion, he was like, I'm not really sure, you know, how it's going, and this is my idea. And it worked really well. And I was kind of trying to think of a title for it, and I wanted a sort of a vocal line in there somewhere. And sometimes with a tune you can kind of really get into it, and you can picture this sort of landscape starts appearing around you when you think about it. And there was always this thing about rain. I don't know, it really signified that aspect. And I was playing around with like the rain will fall and the rain falls and all this kind of stuff, and it just kind of worked from there. And then he had this awesome sort of string sample in the middle, and yeah, it sounded really, really great. So pleased with how that turned out.
Can you light my way home?
So Light My Way Home was let's say the biggest single on the album. Eva Lazarus came in. She's got an amazing voice, she's from Bristol. And she came in and like blew us away with this vocal. And we got really excited about the tune, and you know, it was one that was, I suppose, a bit more, let's say, commercial, for lack of a better word, on the album. And yeah, I really like it, and seems like it generated a lot of love with a lot of people. For a Time I Was You is one of the instrumental tunes on the album, and it's got this huge sort of soundscapey, piano-y, Etherwoody intro. It's actually my mum's favourite tune on the album, in case you wanted to know. And that came about, that was one of those ones, sometimes you get tunes that change a lot, you know, from the initial idea to the end product. You know, sometimes tunes will jump out of nowhere and you stick it all down and then it's done almost, you know, in a day. This one took a little bit more working. So if you listen really carefully, you can hear these birds sort of chirping around in the background of this tune. And I sent this sketch to my parents, and they live in the middle of the countryside, and my dad was blasting it out of the speakers in the living room with the windows open, and then these birds all started singing along to the tune. It was really weird, and he basically recorded it on his phone, and then he sort of sent it to me and was like, hey, listen to this, and then I just stuck that straight in the tune underneath everything else, and it worked really well. So yeah, that's another one of my favourites on the album. It's because it's kind of sums up sort of, you know, my sound and what I'm trying to do, the drum and bass.